Hello, still here. The end of 2021 slowly comes towards us. And as another year ends and this new year, 2022, comes into being, what's going on with the planets? Good time to take a look. Pluto's still at late Capricorn. And there's still a great big significant focus on Capricorn. Capricorn, the systems, the health system, all of our collective systems threatened, challenged, being knocked down. Homes, structures, infrastructure, bridges, roads, dikes washed away in the huge floods in so many countries. Certainly in my country, Canada, in the western part during this last period of time. This Uranus-Saturn square. This has been operating off and on all year, 90 degrees between Uranus in Taurus and Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn sits at 11-12 degrees, Uranus sits at 11-12 degrees, and this perfect square is ongoing, in effect all December. So December could be a rough month for many people. Patience, empathy. Many people with Venus retrograde will be overindulging, will be focused on the comforts and the beautiful, wonderful, luxurious things that they can get their hands on to excess. Some people will be hoarding these things, but many, many people will be doing without. Keep that in mind. And again, so many losses, deaths have occurred this year because of the health systems being stressed by the virus and because of the virus itself. A lot of loss. Difficult time. Manifested and reflected and mirrored by this Venus retrograde energy. So Venus is going to turn retrograde and sit at 25-26 degrees of Capricorn, conjunct Pluto, from the 11th to the 27th of December. This could be very rough for anybody who has planets at 25-26 of Capricorn, or 25-26 of Cancer, or 25-26 of Libra, or 25-26 of Aries. The cardinal signs. The signs that associate with the 4 seasonal changes, the solstices and the equinoxes. And the winter solstice, this transitional time, is a very significant time. Always has been. Mercury's going to turn retrograde as well in January. And it will turn retrograde in Aquarius. So it's in Scorpio right now. And it's traveling on. It's going to make it to 9 degrees of Aquarius. And there it will stop and sit stationary as it turns slowly retrograde. And it will be stationary from the 9th to the 17th of January. Mercury sitting at 9 degrees of Aquarius. Again, do you have planets at 9 degrees of Aquarius? Or 9 degrees of Leo? Or 9 degrees of Scorpio? Or 9 degrees of Taurus? Then this stationary mercurial energy is certainly going to affect you. And when I say do you have planets that sit there, of course I'm talking about your birth chart. In your birth chart, do you have planets that sit at the point where these planets will turn retrograde? Mercury retrograde all through January, and everyone knows patience and a sense of humor and flexibility. Always required when Mercury's retrograde, because plans keep changing and shifting, communications are challenged, verbal, with the written word, the spoken word, and with communication in terms of transportation and travel. Major messed up situations when Mercury is retrograde normally. And Mercury, as you may remember, is retrograde 3 times a year. Venus is only retrograde once every 2 years. So the two of them are both retrograde at the same time. So the human ability to perceive and communicate and think and see clearly, and the human ability to feel and have emotional content and preoccupations with feeling emotional perspectives and female issues that are normally well balanced. These are all out of balance with the majority of people, and specifically more so with some, of course. But it always affects the collective, the group, the government issues, which affects all of us. So this is how we're ending 2021, with Mercury retrograde in January, Venus retrograde first, December and January. Now, when Venus is retrograde, some people again are overindulging in pleasures. Some people are feeling love experiences, and you see some young people very much in love, or old people for that matter, but an in love perspective is often part of the picture when Venus is retrograde. We see a preoccupation, a focus, an intense focus on Venus things in our lives when Venus is retrograde, and not always for the best. Not an easy time. Now, when Venus turns direct and Mercury turns direct at the end of January, this is a time to reassess any decisions you might have made about emotional issues or any life issues. Not a good time to make decisions when planets are retrograde, planets like Mercury and Venus specifically. But when it turns direct, all of this energy of Venus and Mercury, then you reassess and often see things from a different perspective than you had when the planets were retrograde. So what else is happening in 2022 as we're going forward? What can we expect? I did a video on Jupiter conjunct Neptune in the sign of Pisces, the very rare conjunction that's coming in April of 2022. The name of that video is Strange Days Indeed, which is exactly what Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces conjunct will be manifesting and reflecting in this large mirror. Lot of extremes going on when Jupiter's conjunct Neptune. But one of the things that may be extremely relevant, and I hope so, is I see this last giant wave of the virus and the variants on the virus and the whole preoccupation with the virus in our lives, which started in early 2020 when Pluto and Saturn were conjunct. And, of course, Jupiter was involved in January of 2020. But Pisces is the immune system, it's health issues, and so is Neptune. And Jupiter enlarges everything. So with Jupiter and Neptune both in Pisces at the end of December and then peaking in conjunction at the end of April, and then finally Jupiter moves out of Pisces, not to return for 12 years, I would see one last giant wave, like a tsunami of this virus experience on the planet from December through April. That's one sincere, very real possibility. But once Jupiter gets out of Pisces and into Aries, which happens in April, May of 2022, I am optimistic that we'll finally be coming out of this experience on the planet to do with this virus. This giant enlarged experience that has affected everyone in such a big way. Now, of course, the big change is climate change and all of the radical extremes in weather and the problems that come from that. They're going to continue. December is simply showing the second hit of this Uranus square Saturn energy. In 2022, we'll see the last hit of Uranus square Saturn, and that's not till October of 2022. So those are the two biggies, the two big transits we can look forward to in 2022. Jupiter conjunct Neptune in April, and Uranus squaring Saturn for the last time in October. October could be a rough month in 2022 when this last hit of energy is going on. But I'm still hopeful that when Jupiter is finished with Pisces and finished with the conjunction with Neptune in Pisces, that we may see this whole experience and all the ensuing problems that have come from it, with the human immune system being so challenged, the Pisces part of our nature. But precisely now, as we're getting into the end of this year, before we even get into 2022, it may be somewhat of a difficult birth experiences. Usually are. Birth experiences in most memories for folks like myself who had babies. Not an easy experience. And dying isn't an easy thing. So as the 2021 dies and 2022 is born, patience, a sense of humor, flexibility, and a great deal of empathy for so many who are having a very difficult time, and empathy for the planet itself. Bless you. Good fortune for 2022.